everybody, welcome back to Q-Tips. We are the Video Store Junkies, and we are back for our 101st episode of Q-Tips. That's right. We are back once again to bring you a few streaming selections to watch over the weekend, and we're just going to jump right into this, and I will throw it over to Paul.
Why, thank you, Renee. So today we learned, sadly, of the passing of Paul Reubens, more better known as Pee Wee Herman, and there's a bunch of stuff out there. But I want to pick a couple that were, I guess, a little. I don't know. These weren't the ones that normally come to mind, but these are ones I kind of want to recommend. Films that he was in, and the first one, it's actually just a cameo by him, but it's a great cameo and it's a great film that I want to recommend anyway. It's 1987's Back to the Beach, which is currently playing on Pluto TV and only Pluto TV. When has that ever happened? I don't know, but apparently it is.
Pluto exclusive.
It's a Pluto exclusive. This is a goofy film. It takes Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello, and it basically takes their characters from the Beach Party movies. But for legal reasons, they can't be called that. Annette is just simply called Annette, and Frankie Avalon is just referred to as the Big Kahuna, and that's it. He can't even be called Frankie because that was his name in the movies. So they basically are here. They are middle-aged, and they have their kids, and they go back to the beach. And it's a beach party movie, but a 1987 beach party movie colliding with the 1960s beach party movie. So you've got Frankie Avalon, Annette Funicello. You've got all sorts of cameos like Connie Stevens and Jesus Christ.
Wow,
no, Jesus Christ doesn't show up.
That's a big cameo.
Don Adams, Barbara Billingsley, Bob Denver, Tony Dow, Alan Hale Jr., Jerry Mathers, Paul Reubens. And basically you have this sort of the clash of the clean cut 60s versus the wild 80s, but it's a musical and it's a goofy musical, but it has great moments like Dick Dale and Stevie Ray Vaughan doing a duet on Pipeline. You've got Annette Funicello singing with Fishbone. I mean, it's a hoot. It's just very fun, very silly. Just a fun, silly little film that really kind of plays off their characters. Well worth watching. Great film, hardly, but fun, yes. And like I said, I don't think you can top. Like I said, Annette Funicello and Fishbone together. Where else are you going to see that? So, and again, there's a fantastic cameo by Pee Wee Herman as Pee Wee Herman, where he basically just sings Surfin' Bird, but sings it with all his heart and just puts everything he can into it. It was wonderful. He will be greatly missed. And speaking of people who will be greatly missed, I'll pass this to Zach.
Wow. Do you know something I don't know, or?
Well, I meant eventually, at some point in time.
Okay.
Like way, many, many decades from now.
Oh, okay. Great. I thought you were going to say many, many days from now. I was like, that's
decades.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good first pick because that's a deep cut. I had not heard of that film, and I'm looking it up, and apparently it was the director's only feature. So that sounds like a hidden gem.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
And so I have a theme this week. I don't always do this, but I do have one. My theme this week is family. And no, I'm not going to recommend any Fast and the Furious movies, nor am I going to recommend that you go have dinner at Olive Garden. Instead, I'm going to recommend a couple TV shows that revolve around very special families. And the first show I'm going to recommend is a pretty new one. It's on the streaming service formerly known as HBO Max. It is called Royal Crackers, and it is a show about a cracker empire that is family owned and operated that is kind of gone downhill from its heyday. It used to be at the top of the cracker pile, but now not so much. The patriarch of the family is aging, and the kids are kind of taking over and maybe not doing a great job of running the business. It's a very dumb show, and I mean that in the best possible way. I think it's actually an Adult Swim show. But yeah, it's really kind of stupid, but very fun. And it's co-created by, I was hoping that Bill was going to be here because he would know who this was. But it's co-created by one of the two people on one of our favorite comedy podcasts, Gareth Reynolds, who is on a podcast called The Dollop. And he's also written some TV stuff. But silly, fun animated TV show. If you're into like silly animated TV shows, it is recommended. It's an interesting little show. And speaking of crackers, no, I don't know if that's
I do
politically...
love crackers, though.
Yeah. Speaking of people who love crackers, I will pass this off to Renee for her first recommendation.
You know, if you're ever going to keep a box of crackers, like in the bedroom, like emergency bed snacks, I recommend Cheez-Its.
Ooh.
The best bed snack.
Is there a bad time for Cheez-Its?
No.
I think not.
There never is. Never a bad time. That, it's funny, when you mentioned that, I just looked it up, and it has Andrew Santino in it, and I love that guy. He is so friggin' funny. So I'm definitely going to check this out, because I'm sure it's going to be great.
There you go.
Yeah.
I actually don't think I was not familiar with him or any of the other cast.
He's a comedian, but he does a podcast with Bobby Lee.
Oh, okay.
Very funny. Anyhow, so coincidentally, I too have a theme. My theme is cabins. And my very first recommendation is called Cabin Girl.
Yay!
So the whole like van life trend and all these people living in their damn vans. So it's a story that basically follows this girl named Ava. She is a van girl. Unfortunately, she was a little bit of a fender bender, and her van was out of commission for a few months. And luckily, though, for her, is she is in this town, and there is this cabin in the woods, which just happens to be one of her other dreams in life, was to buy a cabin in the woods. And she was able to do it. So she decided to make her place in this town. And kind of spooky things start happening around the house. And she, in the meantime, has befriended a local mechanic and a woman that works at the bar. And she's kind of, talking to them about all that's going on, and they're telling her the lore of what's happened in the town with a young lady that had died mysteriously, I think maybe like 20-ish years prior. So all the stories that they're telling her kind of syncing up to what she's experiencing. And so it's kind of spooky, and it's suspenseful and just very interesting. And it's got I would just say, don't look anything up about it. If you can resist, please just go right into it. It is a Tubi original, so, I mean...
The mark of quality.
Yeah, just jump right in. Nothing to lose.
I was a little bit disappointed, by the way, that you didn't immediately say that this was a prequel to, or excuse me, a sequel to Cabin Boy starring Chris Elliott. But, oh well.
It is actually, yeah. Yes, it is.
Great.
His daughter. It's a story about his
Nice.
daughter, Ava. Yes, she got sick of boat life and decided to get a van. So, oh god. So yeah, this is a Cabin Girl, and you can watch it on Tubi. And on that note, I'll pass it back to you, Paul.
Well, thank you, Renee, and I'll definitely second that one as well. So my second Paul Rubens feature, this one was from just a year earlier to Back to the Beach. And what was interesting was I remember seeing this in theater and not realizing that Paul Rubens was in it. In fact, in the credits, he's credited as Paul Mall. And it's on Disney Plus. It's called Flight of the Navigator. And it's a kid's sci-fi film. Basically, 1976, a kid falls. He's going to look for his brother, a 12-year-old, and he trips and hits his head and goes back home and finds out it's now 1986, and he has not aged at all, or 1984, and has not aged at all. And things happen. They're trying to figure out what's going on, and they end up linking it to this UFO that NASA has captured. So yeah, this is kind of relevant to today, right? Because there were biologics. Anyway, so long story short, he does get on there. It's kind of a bit far into the film, but still, he gets into the ship. And Paul Rubens plays a significant character in the film, but it's interesting because his voice, he just does the voice of it, and it's deeper and it's more modulated, and it's kind of done computery. But then at a certain point in the film, you're watching it and thinking, okay, it's whatever. it scans this kid's brain and picks up a little bit of the 12-year-old in him, and sure as shit, all of a sudden it's Pee Wee Herman's voice. You're like, whoa! I mean, he's doing the laugh, he's doing a lot of the mannerisms, but not quite 100%. And I remember watching it, and all of a sudden my sister and I were like, holy fuck, that's Pee Wee Herman. It's fun. It's a kid's film. It's on Disney Plus, Flight of the Navigator, but it's got a neat kind of, the neat premise of this kind of lost time for this kid and what's going to happen to him. It's got some neat little practical effects with some puppetry, and it has some of the earlier usage of CGI in terms of parts where they're rendering some of the ship is practical, but some of it's done with early CGI rendering as well. So it's pretty fun, and like I said, it really kicks off once, and I think it's a little bit late in the film, but anyway, once he really starts bringing out more of his Pee-wee-ness. So yeah, Flight of the yeah,
that's
that
what
was
he was arrested for, wasn't it?
My God.
Sorry,
I swear that's why I stopped all of a sudden. Oh my God, I did not mean that.
Renee, okay, cut that out. I'm just kidding. Leave it in. Oh.
Rosebud frozen peas. All right, so on that happy note, I will refrain from referring to Zach's Pee-wee-ness. Just say I'm just gonna give up, and I'm handing this over to Zach.
Okay, thank you. Hey, apparently I just looked this up. I didn't realize this guy has a pretty impressive filmography. The guy who directed this also directed Big Top Pee-wee, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, and Grease. It's a pretty interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, Randall Kleiser.
Wow.
I actually hadn't heard of him. All right, well, let's get back to the subject of family. And I just actually realized as I was talking about the first show that I recommended, it's actually got more in common with the second show that I'm going to recommend, because my second show is also about an aging patriarch who runs an empire that his children are vying to take over. But the second show that I have is, let's just say maybe you want to actually watch this one on a Sunday, because I know, we're talking about all these movies and TV to watch over the weekend, but some people, they do like to go out to church on Sunday, and maybe you can come home after church and enjoy a show about one of the most righteous families in America. I'm, of course, talking about The Righteous Gemstones, which is a really hilarious show. So this is another Danny McBride show. He's one of the co-creators and one of the stars. This is one of the things that him, Jody Hill, and David Gordon Green have collaborated on. I've previously recommended Eastbound and Down. I think a lot of their stuff is really good, not counting the Halloween films. So this one has Danny McBride, Adam Devane, and Edie Patterson as the kids, and the father is played by John Goodman. And even though this is kind of a goofy comedy, I think everyone actually really brings their A game to this. You also have Walter Goggins in the show, and I freaking love Walter Goggins in anything, but he is brilliant in this. And the second season, I just got into the second season, and I don't want to spoil too much, but there are a couple of like recurring characters on the second season, and two of my favorite Erics. Actually, I don't know if they're actually my favorite Erics, but Eric Andre plays a recurring character, and also Eric Roberts, who I think we've talked about this a little bit before. I can't remember if we've talked about it like on mic or not, but it's easy to forget. Like Eric Roberts is actually a really good actor because he's been in so much trash, but he actually I was really impressed with him in this. He's really good. So I actually should have mentioned what the hell the show is about. I realized I kind of got off on a tirade there. But anyways, John Goodman is basically the father of this family. They have this, they basically run this mega church, this multimedia, multinational church, and based out of, I believe it's South Carolina, because that's where the show is shot, and that's where Danny McBride's from. But so he's kind of, he's getting on in years, and the kids, the adult kids, are kind of vying for position in the church and trying to take it over. So really funny show, really great. It's a comedy, but it's got some really good performances, and Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. And speaking of the most righteous among us, I will pass this over to Renee for her final recommendation.
Well, thank you very much. Hey, Zach,
Hey, Renee.
want to buy a monkey?
Uh,
That's a deep cut. So my next recommendation is the story of a pompous little shit named Nathaniel and his journey of when he was going to meet his father to take a sailing trip to Hawaii. And unfortunately, he got lost on the way and wound up working as a deckhand on a fishing boat. Well, that's right. It is the prequel of Cabin Girl. It's Cabin Boy.
Yay!
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know. Aren't you
That's
so
good.
excited? Yeah. So this movie is so just goofy and dumb. I don't know. So, okay, listen. I think maybe it was a little ahead of its time. Like maybe people really weren't embracing their love of just stupid humor at that point. I don't know. But I think people now are definitely, I think it could be like a cult favorite. I think it could kind of come back, especially also now that Chris Elliott has done a lot of work with Schitt's Creek and stuff. So I think, there's a possible resurgence. Anyhow, yeah, so this is the story of, Chris Elliott is the main character named Nathaniel. And he just goes through this strange journey, like a coming of age story. And he runs into these very interesting people and has these really just absurd and hilarious encounters. And it's just so goofy and it's just fun. And, I think it's one of those things, like if you are a fan of Late Night with David Letterman, then you're going to like it. I think you'll be fine. I think that unfortunately that's kind of who the niche market was maybe that this movie was made for, late night fans and Tim Burton. So unfortunately, I think that fan base really wasn't enough to carry the film. It also had some kind of production issues and stuff. Unfortunately, it affected some careers negatively. But all that said, I think you should watch it anyway. It is available on Hoopla. Now, Hoopla is going to tell you need subs, a subscription. But you can get a free sub to Hoopla through your library card. And if you don't have a library card, you should get one. Support your local library.
Just to watch Cabin Boy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just to watch Cabin Boy. Yeah. So, that's my recommendation. Cabin Boy. You can watch it on Hoopla.
I wanted to. I totally forgot because apparently I forgot to actually give any information about my last recommendation. The Righteous Gemstones is on Max as well.
Oh,
so I gave you a double Max feature, TV show feature. I'm going to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole here. You guys have an interesting synergy here because apparently Cabin Boy was also directed by a director who only made one feature. And according to this, it was supposed to originally be directed by Tim Burton, I guess. And Tim Burton, of course, who also directed Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So,
that's right.
Yeah, you got
it all comes around full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does. And also, do you know who's in Cabin Boy? I mean, there's a lot of people in Cabin Boy.
I mean, I was just looking at the cast. You got Andy Richter, Russ Tamblyn, Brian James. Yeah.
Yeah, and Brian James, of course, was in The Fifth Element.
Yeah. And The Fifth Element was I don't know where you're going somewhere with that. I don't know.
Just that I think I recommended that last week.
Oh, no, last
ago?
week you did not, because last week was our 100th episode, which everyone should go and listen to.
I did not. It was the week before that.
You recommended it recently.
Yeah.
How do we connect The Fifth Element to Paul Rubens? I don't know. I'm sure it's possible.
I'm certain it's possible.
It's got to be there somewhere,
yeah. Yeah. Paul Rubens was the voice of...
he
Who was the guy? Oh, God. Who's the guy that he talks to on the phone in the beginning of the movie?
Oh, yeah. The guy who is apparently no one's actually ever figured out.
Allegedly Vin Diesel. It's actually Paul Rubens.
Allegedly Vin Diesel. Yeah. I don't think it's actually Vin Diesel.
And what else do I have to say? I'm all thrown off. I'm so sorry. So does anybody have anything to sing us out with? The theme to Cabin Boy?
I would, but I have a feeling that Paul has something.
I do have something prepared, and I think in honor of Paul Rubens, there's only one. Well, there's a lot of songs we could do, but there's only one we really can do, And of course, that's, as sung by Cyndi Lauper, the theme to Pee-wee's Playhouse. Do-do-do-do-do. Bop, bop, bop. Bop, bop, bop. Come in. Oh, I can't do that. Come in and pull yourself up a chair like Cherry. Let the fun begin. It's time to let down your hair.
For the weekend of August 4th, Paul recommended Back to the Beach on Pluto TV and Flight of the Navigator on Disney+. Zachary recommended Royal Crackers, available on Max and Adult Swim, and The Righteous Gemstones on Max. I recommended Cabin Girl on Tubi and Cabin Boy on Hoopla. Bill recommended Frankenstein Island 2, Frankenstein's Yacht, available on Mubi, Crypto, and Flix Addicts, and Laser Blast 4, Blast to the Future, available on Jamster, Stream Queens, and Pixplex.
Countess still clapping, Randy. It's cut out of your ex-husband together.
I feel like if Bill was here, he would have done Mystery Men. For some reason, I think that he's a fan of that movie. Yeah.
Wasn't he the spleen in Mystery Men? Wasn't that?
Yeah, I think so.
Character?
Was that the one that also had All Star as the theme song?
I think so. I
Yeah.
do believe so.
Buffy
What?
the Vampire Slayer is on Max.
Oh.
That would have been a good
Yeah.
one.
But yeah, Paul Rubens does have the best death scene of any vampire there.
That was kind of like his comeback role, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think
And
it
then
was because I remember like watching it in the theater and being like, "Ugh."
It's Pee-wee.
Yeah. You know what other movie I saw in the theater?
What other movie did you see in the theater?
Cabin Boy.
Oh my god! So you were the one.
I was the one. Yeah, me and Tim Burton were in the theater together. Oh man.
Oh, it was awkward too because he came in and sat right beside you, even though the whole theater was empty.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and he took my armrest. It was kind of like, man, come on.
Then he started like eating out of your popcorn bowl.
Right.
Very
And then he
inconsiderate.
started talking. You know, I was like, oh, geez, Tim, get it together. Yeah.
That's amazing.